Good afternoon from the KUOW newsroom. This is Seattle Now. I'm your host, Paige Browning, with today's top stories. It's Tuesday, May 26th. Starting with tragedy striking our state, at least one person is dead and more are unaccounted for after a tank filled with chemicals imploded at a Longview, Washington industrial facility this morning. The scene is stable now, but as of this afternoon, we still don't know the full scale of who was injured. Longview Fire Chief Mike Gorsuch says there is no ongoing risk to neighbors or community members.
This is a tragic incident for our community. Our thoughts remain with the victims, their families, and coworkers, and everyone who has been impacted by it.
The implosion occurred at a plant owned by Nippon Dynawave Packaging Company. The tank that ruptured was holding about 50,000 gallons of paper-making chemicals, including lye, sodium sulfide, and disodium carbonate. Recent shootings have residents near Aurora Avenue worried in Seattle. They're asking for help from the Seattle City Council. Over the weekend, there was a shootout across Aurora Avenue at North 98th Street. Police found 40 shell casings afterward. Neighbor DJ Hoskins told council members gunfire is becoming much too common.
You have just dozens of shots going willy-nilly all over the neighborhood. It's just a matter of time. One time I heard some close gunfires. We have a big window in our bedroom. I just tried to sink down into my bed hoping that a bullet wouldn't come through the window.
Neighbors also asked council members for more police attention on Aurora Avenue during the World Cup to stamp out any increase in drug and sex trafficking the matches might bring. In business news stinging across our tech offices, Meta's sweeping layoffs over the past week had an outsized impact in Washington state. A new notice from Meta shows nearly 1,400 of the 8,000 laid-off workers were based in Washington. Monica Nicholsberg reports.
Meta's Bellevue office took the brunt of the layoff. About 700 workers lost jobs there. Other cuts affected Meta employees who worked in Seattle, Redmond, or from home. Software engineers and engineering managers were the hardest hit in Washington. All the affected employees were notified last week. Meta cut 10% of its workforce amid a multi-billion-dollar spending blitz on artificial intelligence. It's just the latest tech company trimming its workforce to free up capital for AI data centers. Since 2023, more than 20,000 tech workers in Washington have been laid off. But whether AI is replacing those workers remains an open question. Monica Nicholsberg, KUOW News.
Is this the week we learned some bad light rail news? Sound Transit's board could vote Thursday on delaying service to Ballard, stations in Tukwila and Hillman City, and others because of money problems. So today, Seattle City Council member Dan Strauss proposed his ideas to save light rail to Ballard. Strauss, who's also a Sound Transit board member, wants to prioritize a Ballard line over a second downtown tunnel, the agency's current priority. Strauss is also demanding a timeline from Sound Transit on when it thinks light rail could reach Ballard under the current budget. Iran's soccer team will likely not be sleeping in Seattle. Mexico's president, Claudia Sheinbaum, says the Iranian World Cup team will play in the U.S. but travel back to Mexico at night to sleep. The Iranians will return each night to a base in Tijuana. Sheinbaum said at a news conference Monday that she was told by FIFA representatives that the U.S. was reluctant to have the Iranian soccer team spend non-playing time in the U.S. while the war launched by the U.S. and Israel continues. A U.S. State Department statement says President Trump made it clear the Iranian team is welcome to participate. Journalists at 5 newspapers around the Northwest walked off the job today. As Northwest Public Broadcasting's Lauren Gallup reports, they're demanding higher pay.
What do we want? Contract. And when do we want it? Now.
The Tacoma News Tribune reporters weren't at work on Tuesday. They joined journalists at other McClatchy media-owned papers in Washington and Idaho on a one-day strike. The Pacific Northwest Newspaper Guild represents these journalists and has been bargaining with McClatchy for over a year. But the union says the company won't budge on wages. At the Tacoma demonstration, Alice Phillips addressed the crowd. She's the president of the Pierce County Central Labor Council.
And I don't know about you guys, but the rest of the citizens, not only of Tacoma, but the other areas that you mentioned, do not want AI algorithm-fed news articles in their newspaper.
So we go.
In Tacoma, I'm Lauren Gallup.
McClatchy has not responded to journalists' requests for comment by our airtime today. Turning to immigration news, a new survey indicates the Trump administration's aggressive immigration enforcement is negatively affecting preschool students. The findings come from a survey conducted by Washington State Association of Head Start and ECAP. Head Start parents and educators were surveyed in 6 states. Nearly half of them reported kids are exhibiting symptoms of trauma and stress. Joel Ryan is the association's executive director.
There's some attendance issues and enrollment issues where the families are afraid to bring their kids to the Head Start program. So these are kids that are missing out on high quality early education.
Head Start's a federal program that provides preschool to low-income families. The survey's findings suggest immigration enforcement under the Trump administration is impacting young students from both immigrant and non-immigrant families. A short note from the courts today, King County has reached a $3.5 million settlement with the family of a man who died at the King County Jail. The family of Michael Rowland sued the county after he was arrested in 2022 when he was experiencing a mental health crisis at age 63. The Seattle Medium reports corrections officers pinned Rowland face down on the ground and put him in a spit mask. Moments later, he wasn't breathing. The medical examiner determined Rowland died from sudden death during physical restraint. Finally, today we visit Lummi Nation. This past weekend marked many people's unofficial start to summer, and for 6 years now, it's also when an intergenerational canoe journey called the Gathering of the Eagles lands on the shores of the Lummi Nation near Bellingham. More from KNKX reporter Bellamy Palethorpe.
The Gathering of the Eagles was co-founded by Lummi community organizer Freddie Lane. Several dozen paddlers spend a week traveling through the San Juan Islands, holding potlatches and ceremonies every night. Lane says they get immersed in local indigenous culture.
For me, educating the youth about growing into young, productive adults.
Lane says this experience is often transformative. He points to 17-year-old Ethan Meza, who moved here from California in December to reunite with his mom and their culture in the Puyallup tribe. Meza says at school he mostly sat on the sidelines and zoned out, but now he's drumming and dancing and says he's really listening. And he learned how to paddle.
Something like this really, it was like a highlight of my life that I'll always remember.
And he's really hoping to come back next year and do this again. I'm Bellamy Palethorpe reporting.
Next time on Seattle Now, Mayor Katie Wilson wants 1,000 shelter beds this year. It's a lofty goal and a new approach to the city's homelessness crisis.
Despite the fact that other mayors have said this is an emergency, I think you could probably make a pretty good argument that they haven't acted like it and that this push is acting like an emergency.
Hear more on how that plan's going Wednesday morning. That's all for today from the KUOW newsroom in Seattle. Our producer is Andy Hurst. I'm Paige Browning. Seattle Now and KUOW are members of the NPR network. See ya.